this is one, as we know, the largest and most expensive military buildups in decades. Who pays for it, Congress or the Pentagon?
The American taxpayers ultimately pay for this, and they did not vote for this. They voted for an end to endless wars and absolute avoidance of wars of choice. And this increasingly looks like a war of choice, because the Omani foreign minister laid out in an interview a couple of hours ago what actually has been agreed upon so far. And it's very clear Trump has a fantastic deal on the table that the Iranians have offered and that the Omanis have mediated. The question is if Trump is willing to take yes for an answer. And much indicates that he's not. And it means, and that result, that not only will there be a war, not only will it be devastating for the region, for the Iranians, but also for the US, but also this will be a huge, huge bill for the American taxpayer.
And in terms of how the funds are appropriated to fund, this setup that we're gearing towards, is it classified as emergency supplements, or are we looking at a base defence budget here? How is this sort of oversight managed on war budgeting?
I'm not so sure it's managed at all. In fact, on Tuesday, there's supposed to be a vote in Congress as to whether to even give Trump the authorization to use force, because the Constitution is very clear. Congress is the body that declares war, not the president. The president can act in self-defense. But clearly, there is no imminent threat coming from the Iranian side. The United States has been amassing troops and military assets in the region for more than 2 months now. There's no threat, imminent threat from the Iranians coming. The threat is coming from the American side.
So you believe
even
Trump...
without that vote, he's going forward with this, and it shows again the complete disregard for the Constitution.
So you believe Trump has sent this $13 billion a day or $1 million a day, I believe, military to the border there of Iran without credible oversight? Are these costs that are just going to be ballooning unseen?
Yes, I mean, remember that in the beginning of the year, he came out and he said that he wants to see the Pentagon budget reach $1 trillion. The United States already is outspending every other country, the next 20 countries or so, when it comes to military purchases. And the key reason as to why the United States population doesn't have the same type of benefits and standard of living that many other developing countries have. So the idea that this would be go forward without any particular oversight, without any particular consideration for the Constitution is at this point not particularly surprising.
So you mentioned the US taxpayer there. We're just 2 days out from, the State of the Union address where Trump really mentioned affordability, cost of living, and bringing down those costs for US citizens. How much of this financial burden will be on the shoulders of the US taxpayer? Will there be some that will be financed through debt?
Well, ultimately, all of it more or less will be financed through debt. That's the way we have seen so far. For the last 25 or so years, the United States has been conducting wars on its credit card. And that in addition, then adds all kinds of other burdens onto the American taxpayer. Bottom line is, no one voted for this war. There's not been a debate in this country about this war. There's not been a debate in Congress. There's not been a vote in Congress. And the financing is one of the least considered aspects of this altogether.
So say this war goes ahead, what could the potential knock-on effects, especially, to fuel prices? Are we looking at oil markets and a major jump in oil prices across the US?
Well, oil prices have already gone up as the market is starting to factor this in. But if this leads to a large war, which everything indicates it most likely will, in that scenario, the US is likely going to go after Iran's oil installations, which means that the Iranians will target oil installations throughout the region in the GCC, potentially seek to close off the Strait of Hormuz. And that means a dramatic increase in oil prices, which then will fuel global inflation everywhere, including here in the United States.
So in terms of understanding the total multi-year cost, how would you compare, obviously in hindsight, or, how would you imagine a war like this would compare to Iraq or Afghanistan?
Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that in Iraq and Afghanistan, we're talking about land troops, invasion, occupation, and then going on in the case of Afghanistan for 2 decades, in the case of Iraq for more than a decade. So I don't think it will reach that level, and that level was more than $2 trillion. I don't believe that that is where it will go, but it will go far enough to be able to likely have a very detrimental impact on the Republicans and on Trump himself with the midterm elections coming up this November.
All right, Trita Parsi, we'll leave it there. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.